Hello, everybody. It's Tuesday evening, and I wanted to record a little bit of a follow-up to the two workshop live coding demos. In both of the workshops, we had really great discussion around the Flux questions and activity, but ran a bit short of time to show the demos and look at some of the table view stuff. So I'd like to go back and do some of that. So this will serve as a sort of um, kind of recording in a sense of what we did in the live coding, but also taking some of the questions that people asked me after the first and second workshop and weaving that in. So we had a look at table views, and I had a few questions about how the delegate methods work, the data source delegate methods. And the three really important ones are, let's actually make full use of the screen. Uh, if you don't know, you can long press on the green button and choose to tile and have it choose two different windows, and you can have macOS display these things full screen. So I'm going to display things about this big. Let me put myself over here. Okay, so we have these three delegate methods. As I said, the table view constantly calls these data source methods to figure out what it should be displaying. And so, the very first time the table view launches, the first thing it does is it finds out how many cells there are and what needs to display. So it'll call number of sections, find out the number of sections. Then when it knows that, if there's 0 sections, it does nothing. If there's 1 section, it will call this number of rows in section method to find out how many rows are in that section. If there's 2 sections, it will call this method twice, once for each section to find that out. And then it's going to call cell for row at index path a number of times to find out how to display each of those cells. And maybe the easiest way to see this was where we left the demo in the second workshop. But I'm going to select these lines. If you don't know, you can do command and / as a way of commenting out or uncommenting a whole lot of content in one go. And I'm instead just going to set this to say content text of each cell is equal to, and I'm just going to say cell and I'm going to give the index path here and the row in, I'm going to say section, and give the index path section, right? And I'm going to tell the table view it has one section with 20 rows. And when we run this, in a moment, we get a table view. And you can see these are the cells from 0 to 19, all in section 0. And if we want to see what I was talking about, we can, well, just print out that this method has been called. And in here, I'll say print and print that this method, and let me give the section here so we can see what section it's being given. And let me also put a print statement in this one, and I'm going to use something very similar to what we had here and just say asked for cell at index, index path row in section. So if um, if I run this and just have a look at the console, we should see it show pretty much what I said. So first thing it does is it asks for the number of sections, asks for the rows in that section. I didn't have a bracket here. And then it asks for the cells from 0 up to 11. Actually, in this case, up to 17, because it can fit 17 cells on. And then when I scroll, it asks for the last couple. Um, so And you can see it asks this a number of times, probably because there's some displaying that needs to go on that causes it to ask for these a few times. If I say told it that there's two sections and each of them has 20 cells, then when we reload it, it's going to first ask for the number of sections, and then it's going to find out the number of rows in each section, and we can see it again only asks for the cells from 0 to 17 because that's what fits on an iPhone. As I scroll, we see it asks for additional cells, and once it reaches the end of the first section, it starts asking for the ones in section 2, which we can't quite see on the screen, but we'll see in a moment if we keep scrolling. So it's looking maybe a couple of cells ahead. And then as I scroll up, it will start to ask for these again. And as cells scroll off the top or bottom of the screen, those cells are added back to this reuse pool, and we dequeue one of them and reuse it. So I'm going to comment out these. So that shows us the cells that are being, or it shows us how the delegate methods are being called. And if you were to say swipe and delete a cell, then it calls these data source methods again automatically to check what cells there are and to redisplay them. So it's constantly calling these data source delegate methods. Okay, so let's go back to showing some movie content. Probably should change this because it's fixed. Movies.count. So I'm just counting the number of things in the array, and then someone asked me about what the order of the movies is here. So right now, the order of the movies is just the order of the movies array. So it's literally just the order of all my movies in here. So No Way Up will be first, Code 8 Part 2 will be second, etc. So if I list them in a different order, they display in a different order. That's where the order is coming from. Now, if you wanted your content here to be sorted, you can certainly do that. What you would need to do is sort that movies array, which is possible. I guess we could do that now. We could say movies dot. At the moment, this is a let variable, so it can't be sorted. But I could say change it to var and say movies.sort. There's a method called sort, or you could ask it for sorted, which would return you a new array of the same type. But we can sort by, and when we have by, basically this is a comparator function. It gets passed two elements of the array, where each element of the array is one of my movies, a dictionary of with string as the key and string as the value. And it needs to return a boolean to say if the left one here should be located before this other element. So you think of it as a less than function. So I can just let it expand this into a closure. And I need to give each of these a name. So let's call it left. And okay, that didn't work. Weird. And for this one, let's call it right. These are just elements of our array. And then what we need to do is have some kind of code here. So what we could do is we could say if, and I can't sort just based on the dictionary itself, but I could say the left date is equal to left, which is our dictionary, and take the release date from this. And release date may or may not exist, which is why this is an optional. And I'm going to, oops, so do this as optional binding. And I'm going to also do the same thing and say let write date be equal to the right elements release date. And if I have both of these, so if both of them have a date, I'm going to return true if the left date is less than the right date. And if not, I'm just going to return false here. So what I've done in this closure is I've written a comparison function, and instead you could pass it a function that had this same signature, as in it took two dictionaries, which are of our movie type, and returned a boolean. So we should now, if I run this, end up with something that's in sorted order rather than a random order. You can see okay, that did not work. Okay, what have I done? Something. Override can only be used on class members. This is a class member. Movies. Okay, so all these errors are pretty strange. These errors are because I've got an extra brace somewhere, so I've messed up. Easy way to do this is, okay, we can see, here's the beginning of this closure, here's the end, so then here's something where I'm ending my view did load, and then I'm actually ending the class here. So an potential easy way to spot this is if I select all this and say Control I, you can have it fix the indentation, and it turns out this is where I'm ending my class earlier. So let's fix that. Let's run this. Okay, this is what I was expecting to see. These are now ordered from 2021 March, and then we've got something from 2021 April and May, and another thing in May, and then something in June. Okay. If I wanted them in the reverse order, I could change it like so, and they'd be in reverse chronological order with the latest one at the top. So you can see if I sort the array, I can end up with the elements in a different order. Let's have a look at a couple of things that I showed in the demo. One of these was about the cell reuse. So if the title is, say, lights out, then I'm going to set the cell's background color and change this to UI color and set it to, I don't know, orange. if I do this, that one cell will be displayed orange. But as we scroll, we see that same orange cell get used for other things. And because we've never reset the background color persists for that cell type. And then as we scroll back up, we might start to see a couple of cells have that color. And then as we scroll down, we'll start to see two on screen at a time in that pool. So this is what I was saying about just being aware of needing to configure the cell. If you set something on it that you don't want to appear on other cells, a good thing to do is make sure as part of it you clear it. Or if you create custom cells, they actually have a method called prepare for reuse. And that's a good place where you can clear one of your custom cells and set it back to a sort of default state that you want. So if we do this, only that one cell will be orange. I'll leave it that color so that you can see how the example works. Okay, so interestingly, we've got two sections and all of the movies. Each of the sections says it has all of the movies, and then we're displaying the entire movies array in each section. So actually, it turns out if I scroll down, I'm going to find Inside Out down here a second time. Somewhere here. So you can see that actually there's two individual sections and they're displaying the same or different content. If I really was going to work with different sections, typically what you do is you split your content into multiple arrays rather than one, and then it's very easy to use those two-dimensional arrays. Use the index of the section as the first way of accessing that array, and the index of the row as the way of accessing the second dimension. So this is something I actually did in the first workshop, and I can show you how to do it in the for this video. And yeah, let's leave it in reverse chronological sorted order. That makes sense. I'm going a bit off script here, but that's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a two-dimensional movies array. And what it's going to look like, and I'm going to call it movie years. And I'm going to have an array for each of the years worth of movies. So at the moment, there's movies from 4 different years, but they're all in one array. So I'm going to split it so that the movies from 2024 are in one array, the movies from 2023 are in the next array, the movies from 2022 are in the next array, etc. So the type of this one up here, if we had to set its type, would be an array of dictionaries where the dictionary key is a string and the value is a string. So this part is a movie, and then because it's in square brackets, it's an array of dictionaries. Okay, so it can be useful, and we can see that because the compiler doesn't complain about this. It's happy with this type definition, apart from it's not happy with this unfinished line. What we can do, and one of the things that I showed in the first workshop, was using something called type alias, which is a way of making it a bit clearer what this type here refers to. So I could say I have a movie, and a movie is a dictionary where the keys are strings and the values are strings. Okay? And now in here, in my type definition, I could also say movie. And then for my movie years, I could also say that it's an array of movies, a two-dimensional array of movies. So an array of movies. Now, Because this is inside a class, it's going to complain and say this thing doesn't have any initial values. And I could always just set this to an empty array, so there's no years within it, or I could set it to this, which would be 4 empty arrays, and it's happy with that. But I can also set it to 4 empty arrays by calling a constructor of the movie class. And I can do that by specifying the type and doing open bracket and hello, where's my code completion here? Let me just do it this way. Okay, well that's a bit frustrating. Let me just try this once more because it's quite nice if it... Ah, come on, Xcode. Why will you not do that? I'm interested now about the types and why this is going on. Let me just do a quick test here and see if it will do it this way. No, it will not. Okay, well, let's have a look at the documentation, and I'll just look up because I don't remember the signature for this off the top of my head. So here's our array class in Swift, and one of its initializers is called, okay, init repeating, and you give it the element that you want to repeat and the number of times you want to repeat it. So this is a good way of initializing something which is equivalent to, so what is it called? Repeating and count. So if I want to initialize something that is equivalent to this that we saw before, I could do it by doing this. Repeating. Oh, now it does autocomplete. I don't know why it didn't do it before. So we'd say repeating, we give it an empty array and say 4 times. So this is a sort of generic way of initializing. So we've now got our movie array, or years array, that has 4 empty years. So if I wanted to use this with my data source, I'd be specifying the number of sections as movie years dot count. So that's the number of years. In this case, it'll be 4. Then when it asks for the number of things in a particular section, I want it to return the number of elements within one of those year arrays. So what would that look like? It would just look like movie years. We would give it the index, no, we give it the section here. And we give a count because we get given the section and we give back the count. Okay, then in here, I would say that my movie is going to be movie years. I use the index path section here, and I use the index path row. Okay, so this code should all compile and run, but right now this is just empty. So there's going to be 4 sections. Those 4 sections are going to have no elements in them. If we want to see those 4 sections, we can do that by overriding or adding a new delegate method, which is the title. So this is the title for the header in a particular section, and we just return a string as an optional. So we choose whether we want to have a section header. So I could just return here a string which is just the section index. So basically I should see the numbers 0, 1, 2, 3 as little section headings. So let's have a look. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3. So there's my section headings. Let's say I actually want this one to represent 2024, this one to represent 2023. Then I could, calculate what the year would look like. So I could say year is equal to 2024 minus the section, which would be 0 for the first one, 1 for the second. And I could have this display a year. And then I should have something that just displays 2024, 2023, 2022, 2021. Okay, great. So now what I'm going to do is I've got my movies in a one-dimensional array. I'm going to split it up into two. So how do we do this? So first off, we can iterate through an array, and we can say for each of the movies in my movies array, I want to do something. What do I want to do? I want to get the year, and well, actually, I want to get the release date first of all. So my release date is equal to the movie and the release date property. And this is, again, because I'm just reading a value from a dictionary that may or may not exist, this is optional. So let's read this. Assuming that we have a release date, we are going to, this release date is formatted like this. So we want to take this bit off. We want to take this bit of it. So how do we take this bit of it? We do so by splitting that thing on the hyphens. So this can be done by saying let year be equal to my release date, which is a string, and there's something called split where we give it a separator, and split returns an array of substrings. So if we split on hyphen, we expect it to return three things. And we're going to read the first one of these. Or we could even say first if we want. And this is an optional because there may not be any elements, but assuming there is, we're happy. If there isn't, this will return nil. And so that I've got an actual value for this, I'm just going to set a default year, which can be 2024. So, what is this saying? Cannot be applied to operands of type. Oh yeah, right. And this needs to be a string. Sorry, it has to be the same type as the optional that we have here. So it's happy. We can just print this to see that it's doing the right thing. And we should see it display just a whole list of years at the beginning. Okay, so that looks good. Now we're going to generate from this year an index for which of the four arrays it should go into. So our index is going to be equal to 2024 minus our year. So let's, well actually let's do both. Let's display our year and display an arrow and display our index so that we can see what's going on here. I wouldn't usually do so much printing to the console, but it's useful for us to see. Oh yeah, sorry, this is a string. So let me convert this to an int. And if this doesn't work, let's make this an int as well. selections because these are both optional, so I'm just going to give this a default value. Okay, let's run this. Okay, so basically, if the year was 2024, it puts it into the first array. Anything that's 2023, it puts it into the second array. Anything that's 2022 goes into the third, etc. Okay, so let's actually put the movie here into the array. So how do we do that? We say movie years, we give the index, the year, um, and we say dot append, there's already an empty array there, and we add the new element, which is just the particular movie as we iterate through our list of movies. Now, what I should have is all my movies split into years. So under 2024, we have these ones. Under 2023, we have these ones. So this is one of the list, oh sorry, table view styles, which you see it keeps the section header at the top. As you scroll, you also see the transparent bar here, but there's also a few different styles. So we can go into our storyboard and we can select our table view, which is here, and bring up our inspector. And you can see the style is plain or there's grouped, and grouped is like what you would see in the settings screen or something. On the latest versions of iOS, it's not so clear because the background and the cells are still all white and they're the same color, but you can see that you don't have the section heading scrolls with the section, and you can see it's just like that. There's also a version of this that is inset, and you can also tell this a bit better if you set a background here. So like, let me just set this to, I don't know, system purple. You can maybe see this a bit clearer. Actually, you don't because the sections still display. So let's just leave this as a secondary grouped background color. And then the final one is grouped inset. And that one doesn't take up the full width of the screen on widescreen devices. You see that it puts a little bit of a gap here. This is where we would see the purple around these. And if I turn it sideways, you'll see it also has large insets around it. So they're just different styles of table view. Okay, was there anything else I wanted to show here or that people asked? We saw sorting, we saw reuse of cells. Oh, I guess maybe what we want to do is uh, understand when the user taps on something, right? So we can do some form of interaction. So that's actually pretty easy to do. In our table view controller, there's another a table view delegate method called did select row at index path. So it's telling us that this table view and a row at a particular index path was selected, and that will tell us the section and the row. So if we wanted to know, say, the title of the movie that was tapped on, we could do that. Here's our code given a particular index path to find a movie. So we get given the index path, and we could just print tapped on, and then we show the title of the movie. So we could say movie and give it its title. And this is going to give us a warning because this thing is an optional. But if I tap on inside out, I should see it says tapped on optional. It says inside out 2. If I tap on here, it says tapped my through my window 3 looking at you. anything else I should show? I guess I can show you how dynamic type and light mode and dark mode work on this. So if I could just change the appearance, you can see light mode and dark mode work the way you'd expect here. Everything just shifts. I can also set dynamic type here, and as I do, the table view just re-displays itself and handles those size changes. And I can, oh yeah, okay, let's maybe do one final thing, which is let's say we wanted to segue to another view controller and pass it information on a particular movie. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to create a new view controller. View controller. This view controller is not going to be a table view. It's just going to be a normal view controller. And there's a couple of ways that you can do this. From a particular cell, like I have here, I can control drag from that cell onto the new view controller, and I can create a segue. And you can see there's a couple of different ones. This is selection segues. So when I select the table view cell, it's going to trigger this segue. So I could do this, and I could run it. And when I do, if I tap on a cell, it's going to segue to a new view controller. When I click back, I end up back where I started. So how do we then show some of this information here? So let me do a couple of things. I'm going to, yeah, okay, what am I going to do? In the storyboard, I'm going to add a text view. And we haven't worked with text views. Text views are a bit different than text fields. They're a way of displaying content, and they're actually backed by a scroll view, like we were talking about this week. So I can display this as the, say, full size of the screen, and if the text doesn't fit because it's a very large font size, it will automatically create a scroll view. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to constrain this to be away from the margins of the app to all directions, the top, bottom, left, and right. So this view is going to scale with the size of the screen. I'm going to set the text of this to use one of the font styles, text styles, because then it will scale when the dynamic text scales it. And I can say dynamic type automatically adjust font size. Okay. I need to create a custom class to work with this, and I need to create an outlet to this text field so I can display something here. So let's do that. I'm not going to show those steps because it's something we're pretty familiar with, so I'm just going to do it very quickly. I'm going to say new file. This is a CocoaTouch class. It's not a table view, it's just a UI view controller subclass, and I'm going to call it movie detail view controller. So I've now got my movie detail view controller. I'm going to go into my storyboard. I'm going to select this. I'm going to set a custom class, movie detail view controller. I'm also going to open the assistant, and in the assistant here, I'm going to select this one, and I'm going to create an outlet, and I'm going to call it I don't know, what am I going to call it? Movie overview. Did we actually have text field? Text view, sorry. movie overview text view. Great. And in our movies here, we have little overviews for each one. So I'm going to display that overview. So how are we going to do this? Well, I could have created this as an anonymous segue like we did with the custom thing last week, and I could trigger that code, that segue through code, because there's a method you can call to trigger a segue. Or if the segue is already going to be triggered by the selection, which is how we've set it up in the storyboard, I can also just implement my prepare for segue method, and I could pass some information. So do I have this prepare for segue method? Yes. Okay, so let's undo this. This is in the navigation section, so we can see it's ordered it down here, prepare for segue. So, and this is where I should create my segue for, I'm just going to not create an identifier for it, and I'm just going to say let my destination view controller be equal to the segue's destination property, and I'm going to cast it to this type that I know it is. We should here be checking that it's the correct segue and things first. Just for brevity, I'm going to skip that here. So this is movie detail view controller. And when I've got the movie detail view controller, I can give it, so I can say destination VC, and I could say my movie overview text view, and I could set the text and set it equal to my movie. And the way that I get the movie is I need an index path. Interesting. So I don't have an index path here. It turns out that the sender in this prepare for segue method is an index path. And you can also ask the table view for the selected index path. So we could say table view dot selected index path for selected row. So that's one way we could do it. So we could say let movie equal movie. So maybe we actually say let index path be equal to this. And I think this is optional. Yes, it's optional. So we probably need to wrap this and check that it actually has a value. But assuming that there is an index path, then we can say let movie be equal to movie years index path dot row, section, and then index path dot row. And then in here, when I have the movie, I could give it the overview. Now, this is actually probably going to do something surprising for you. Let's have a look. I click inside out. I get a fatal error. Unexpectedly found nil while implicitly unwrapping an optional value. So, where am I getting this from? I'm getting it from movie overview text view. And it turns out that the way outlets are done, this view doesn't actually exist yet. So we talked about the fact that you can't really interact with things within a view controller until its views have loaded. So not safe for us to directly modify something in one of the views at this point. What we can do is we can pass information on the movie to the view controller, and then initsView did load, it can update that. So what we can do is we can say create a variable, call it movie, and its type would be a movie, that type def we wrote before, and it's an optional. Does it know movie here? Probably not, because I wrote this type def inside the class. So let's hoist this outside, and the compiler should now be happy about it. Yeah, okay, so here we've set a movie. So what we can do in our prepare for segue method is we can say destination VC and specify that its movie is equal to this movie value. So that is safe, and it's going to be happy about that and not crash, because I'm not interacting with the views before they exist, but I just get some placeholder text here. So how do I actually display the text? Well, in my movie detail view, once the views have loaded, I can do additional setup. So I can check, do we have a movie here? I can say check that this movie has a value. If it does, then I can say my movie overview text views text is equal to the overview value from this particular movie. So let's try that. Inside Out, oh, we see the text of Inside Out. Or June Part 2, we see the text of June 2. Let's also set the title of this movie. We can do that in code. So how we do that is we do it via the navigation item. We've done that plenty of times in the storyboard, but never in code. So we can here say navigation item, and we say dot title is equal to movie, and we give it the title. So let's have a look at this. Inside Out. We see Inside Out 2. We can hit back. June, we see this. And we can see this doesn't look like a scroll view at all. I said it was a scroll view. So let's see if we can make it display. If we change dynamic type, we should be able to expand this, and we should see, yep, sure enough, it's a scroll view. I probably didn't need to make the margins so big. You can see the scroll bar here should probably be right next to the edge, so I can really shrink those margins down a little bit. But if we expand this, you can see how it's working. So, and this was also an example of passing information forward from one view controller to another. It will show you one other thing that you can do, which is here you would have heard me say that I can get the index path for the selected row from the table view. The other thing I can do is the sender here will actually be the item that triggered the segue, which will be a table view cell. So if I cast this to a table view cell, which I can do optionally, like this, I can say let table view cell be equal to the sender, and I try casting it, and if it can't be cast this way, it will return nil, table view cell. And then once I've done this, I can ask the table view for the index path of cell, index path 4, and you give it a table view cell, which would be this table view cell, table view cell. And this is another way that you could, and this returns the index path. So this is an alternate way that you could tell the particular table view cell that was clicked on. So I'll leave this here and just leave it commented out as an alternative kind of path. All right. I've gone into a bit more detail in this, but hopefully that covers the things we talked about, the things that people asked questions about, and gives you some more idea on both sections and also some ways of interacting with a table view. Great, thanks for watching.